What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Kiara. This is my husband,
Joe.
And we are doing part 3, which is the finale of our love story. If y'all have not watched part 1 and part 2, pause this video, go and watch them, and then come back so it can all make sense. Part 2, we left off with...
I have a child.
Yes. So we want to do a little backtracking. Joe ended up meeting another woman overseas. I did not know about it, and that ended up resulting in a child. So just kind of to backtrack from that, we were in the end of 2019, literally like December 2019, and Joe had told me he was talking to another woman. At this time, we did not know that you were having a child. We did not know a child was on the way. So when I had found out that he was talking to another woman, like in my head, right? Because I had my head in my heart. In my head, I was like, okay, I knew something was up. Like, how come you didn't tell me? You know, because we had made a little pact. Like, if you met someone, let me know, because we still were not officially together. So it's not like he was committed to me, you know. So I didn't feel like I could be upset at him for like saying you're supposed to commit to me, but I was upset, and I did feel betrayed in the fact that we had made a promise to each other and you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. But I was like, I'm like, I can kind of like get over that. I felt like, okay, like probably with some time I can get over that. I didn't really completely cut him out of my life, out of my picture, but in my heart, y'all, I felt cheated on. And my emotions was giving, girl, you just got cheated on. And I was trying to understand at the time, like, why do I feel this way? Because to remind y'all, I have not seen him physically since 2016. And I knew at this time, like, I was really believing that this was the person that God had for me. And I have very strong emotions towards Joel. And finding out that he was talking to another woman and seeing how hurt I was about it really showed me like, okay, you got some strong emotions for this man. And I also felt a little confused by God, because I'm just like, God, you know everything that's going on. You know everything. You knew what this man was doing when I didn't know. And granted, women, we have our intuition, which is, I believe, a gift. So something didn't feel right, but I'm just like, how are you God? How are you telling me all of this stuff, right? And this stuff is happening, right? So that's how I felt, about you meeting the other woman. So talk about how you felt, like what was going on in your head when, you were, what am I trying to say? Like, what was going on in your head as far as like that time when you were dealing with this other woman? Like, how did you feel about me? Did you think I was your wife? What made you want to pursue something else outside of me?
Number one, I didn't think you was my wife, which is why I was looking for you, the type of woman you were in other women. So we was talking, but since we didn't have that physical connection, I'm not saying that she's not attractive or I wasn't feeling her, but we haven't seen each other since 2016 at that point in my life. So we didn't have that physical connection. So no, I didn't think you was my wife at that time, which is why I was looking for you, the type of woman you were in other women. And while I was doing that, because I didn't think you were my wife, I received the counterfeit. And we all know a counterfeit is not the real thing. This is not a knock to my child's mother, but I chose my will over God's will, and every choice has a consequence. I chose my will over God's will. My will was to go back overseas, which I've done. And God's will, I'm sure we both know for sure that he wanted me to stay.
Yeah. And we spoke about that in part 1 and part 2. Remember when he left overseas, I was like, I don't think you're supposed to go. Like, that's weird. That threw me off. I chose my will over God's will. And we see how in the Bible with Jonah, he said, no, I'm not gonna talk to the Ninevites. I'm gonna go hide from God. Me, I chose to go overseas, and God wanted me to stay home. And you see what happens when you do the opposite of what God told you to do. Yeah.
the enemy comes in. You know, you leave a door open, the enemy comes in, and I believe that's when, hey, I'm gonna give you a counterfeit of the real thing.
Right. I'm gonna take your desires, which there was nothing wrong with the desires that you had as far as I want to be with a woman who I can see and touch and feel. So the enemy's like, okay, I'm gonna take them desires and I'm gonna send you something. Yeah.
Because you out, I'm outside of God's will, which gives him legal access and legal rights to do. Because I'm outside of his will. Not saying that God just completely gave me over to the enemy, but God let things happen. He shook me up to get me back where I needed to be.
Yes.
And
it's so much. So the moral of that little tidbit of this video is it's important to do God's will and be where God tells you to be, because when you are not, you open yourself up to certain things, because everything that Joel desired, there was nothing wrong with that, and you could have had that. You could have had a woman who you could have touched and felt, you know. I was in the States, you know what I mean? So you could have had that if you was in the States. So that's the whole point that we're trying to get at there with that. So let's move on. January of 2020, Joel's brother passes away and Joel comes back to the United States. Joel goes back to Delaware. I'm still in California. And shortly after you get back to the States, you find out that you have a child on the way. And then Joel lets me know that he has a child on the way. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. It's a no for me. I have this saying, if you got a BM, stay up out my DM, okay? I didn't want nothing to do with it. So when I have found that out, I have felt that was a hard pill to swallow. I will say that. It was a hard pill to swallow. It was a lot on me emotionally. I felt even more betrayed by God, and I felt kind of confused too. I'm like, okay, you know, the woman was, you know, a little something, but this, I'm like, I think I'm not hearing from you. I'm like, God, this ain't you, you know? It can't be you, because this goes against everything that I want, you know? And that's just how I was thinking. I'm like, this was not how I see my life going and all of this stuff. So I'm just like, dealing with a lot. That was a lot on me emotionally. How was that for you?
Guilty. I felt shameful. I felt a lot of emotions because, you know, my brother had just passed away. Then I found out the news about me having a daughter. So my emotions is everywhere. But I felt like I was self-sabotaging myself. I was condemning myself. I was at a bad place, and I didn't feel worthy of you. And yeah.
2020, okay, because we still were not officially together, was hard as far as like our interactions. It was very, I would say, toxic. It was unhealthy. Any type of relationship is only going to be as good as the people in it. And we were both hurt for our different reasons. And so, yeah, that, I feel like we were talking, right? I think we were talking. I was a mess, y'all. I was crazy. I was a mess. I did not handle that situation well, okay? Granted, it's very hard. If you ever been cheated on, if you ever been cheated on and it resulted in a child, that's a lot. It's heavy. And until you're in it, like, don't judge a woman. Until you're in it, just be quiet, because you don't even know the half. So I made a lot of mistakes in the way that I dealt with that situation. And, you know, you're grieving, you're finding out about a daughter, and you're dealing with me. It was a lot. It was a lot, y'all. It was very ghetto. Like, it was very ghetto.
It was very toxic.
It was very toxic. We were very toxic. We're still distanced too. Like, we haven't seen each other. And through it all, right? Through me finding out everything, and I thought I was finished. I thought I was done. I still chose to want to pursue something with him. You were because you said, you felt unworthy, he was pushing me away. Like, nah, like, and I'm sure the way I was acting too made it a lot easier for you to just be like, I don't have time for this lady, this girl, she's crazy. I got enough stress in my life. But honestly, y'all, through it all,
God is still good.
God is still good, and his faithfulness still shows.
Sovereign.
And God still was showing me like, hey, everything I showed you, it's still going to happen. I still had the emotions that I had for him. I still had the love that I had for him. I was still very hurt. And I was confused. I was like, God, you showed me all of this, right? But you didn't show me this part. But God knew. How could I? Care if you gotta be and say, you made up your mind. If you gotta be and stay up on my DM. And everything about God's will, I think Joel stated it in 2 videos or whatever before. Like, you're not gonna like everything that is in God's will. Everything that God allows to happen in your life. I believe that there's God's will and there's stuff that God allows. Because God is sovereign. Nothing is too big for him. Like, no situation, like, he can still get his will done, and he has his way of using it, And Romans 8:28, it says that God causes all things to work together for the good. Yes, for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his will and to his purpose. And literally, like, that is, what's going on here. So what made me want to continue to still pursue something with Joe, although he was pushing me away, I was still like, I still believe in this. I still believe in us, and I still believe that we are a part of God's will. I don't understand why this happened. I don't understand why God allowed this to happen. But I know that God's going to use it, and I have enough faith and trust in God to continue to walk this thing out. No, this was not the will that I wanted for myself. And I think I could have chose, God is a gentleman. He's not going to force his will on us. But I have enough sense to know that God's will for me is the best thing for me, even if it hurts, even if it sucks. God used this situation and is continuing to use this situation and will continue to use, what happened with us for our good and for his glory, because through it all, he's faithful, y'all. I mean, we're married, you know what I mean? And it was some hard waters to tread. Like, 2020 was a rough year for everybody. And we just opened up and shared why it was rough for us. And we're still here. We're married, okay? And everything. And Joel has a beautiful baby girl. And none of the things that we shared is disrespect to the mother of his child. That's no disrespect to her at all. We just want to focus in on, telling
our side and just telling our testimony.
Telling our testimony.
Our testimony, I believe, is going to help a lot of people, men and women, that go through similar situations.
Yeah,
similar situations.
We're not alone.
We're definitely not alone.
A lot of people go through this. And it just happened that they got the right 2 people to go through it, because we love God. we are here to share, like, we don't want people to make the same mistakes that we made, and to share our successes, things that we did do that was right, following our footsteps. So yeah, going back to the story, I was still telling Joe, I still believe in this. I still believe in this, although you're pushing me away. And I think we still haven't seen each other. So I feel like that was the next thing to happen. Like, we need to see each other. And I remember one day, because we was, girl, I don't mean to say girl. We would argue so much. Whether we arguing on text, we arguing on Instagram, we arguing on Snapchat, we arguing on Twitter. Child, we was just arguing wherever it was. So yeah, I'm blocked every other day. He's blocked every other day. I'm not talking to him. It was a mess. It was very ghetto. But we made it out, praise God. But what was I gonna say? I remember you hit me up one time on Instagram. We was mid-argument on Instagram, and you was like, I'm gonna come out there and see you. I was like, oh.
Shut up real quick.
So what made you, cause you was pushing me away. So what made you say, like, you know what, let me go see this crazy girl?
Something was tugging at my heart. It was like, cause me, I'm so used to pushing people away till they just leave. And I'm like, all right, good. Like they cool, we cool. but something was tugging at my heart. Like, yo, this woman really is trying to see how you doing, what's going on. I know y'all arguing and stuff like that, but she's trying to get insight to what's going on inside of that head of yours. Something just told me, like, man, just go out there, just, you know, go see her. You know, it was like God telling me, yo, I'm trying to help you out with someone right here. You better go. If I can't do nothing, I don't know how it's gonna work out if you don't answer.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, let me go take care of this. Let me
Not take care of this.
Let me look for flights right quick. Get out of here.
Oh my God. So we ended up seeing each other. I have clips, I'm gonna insert them. The very first time since 2016, it was in June 2020. And that was when we officially got together. Mind you, he never asked me to be his girlfriend. I remember we had this talk.
Who says that?
What do you mean?
Texts, but that's high school stuff or like middle school stuff. But me, I feel like I'm way past that. Like, if you know what it is.
No.
We know what it is. I'm not gonna be like, yo.
Comment down below. No, like.
You wanna be my girlfriend?
Ladies and men. Is it important?
What's understood ain't gotta be explained.
No.
Men and women, what's understood ain't gotta be explained. Y'all both know what's up. Come to agreement.
Ladies,
I don't gotta be like.
Men, is it important?
Would you want to be my girlfriend?
Is it important to ask that question? I think it is. He never asked me. You never asked me, and I remember I'm like, I forgot we were having a talk or something. I said something smart, pretty much on the lines of like, I'm not your girlfriend, and he was like, so what do you mean? What are we doing? What is this? And I'm like, you tell me, what is this? I'm like, you ain't asked me to be your girlfriend. He was like, so what we been doing this whole time? I don't know. I need you to ask me to be your girlfriend. So to me, it was real to me when he actually came and I seen him. That's how I knew it was real. So I say we officially got together June 2020, but this man has had my heart since 2018. And yeah, we seen each other June 2020 and we began our long distance relationship. We were still healing from the events that happened and it was still emotional roller coaster, you know? But that is the story on how we officially got together, y'all. That's how we met, that's how we got together. It ain't nothing like you thought, right? Oh my gosh, really? So, what's some takeaways? Like, what's some things that you want people to know?
Man, I just feel like I know for sure now. Follow God's will for your life. Just trust it. It may get weary, it may get tiresome, but like I tell Kier, endure. God will provide, and you have to believe that. Just because God will provide and God is with you, you know, as being a Christian, it does not mean things will get hard. Things are gonna be easy for you. Things are not gonna get easy for you. You know, it's a test. You gotta get tried by fire to come out as gold. So man, I just want y'all to really just be led by God. Really follow His will. Don't get caught up in your own desires of your heart. Yes, God, following God, He's going to give you the desires. Follow Him, trust in Him, seek His face as much as you can. It's a purpose for you, and it's a purpose for that spouse, for that wife of yours. He didn't create anyone without a purpose. He created you for a purpose, with a purpose and for a purpose. So trust in God and continue to be led by Him. God is not a respecter of person. He don't care who you are. He don't care who you are. He's a respecter of principle, of His principles. So with all that being said, you know, with everything that happened, He could turn it around, make it good.
Okay, and what I will say, God is faithful. I hope that when y'all hear our story, okay, that you remember that God is faithful. Literally, you are looking at two people who do not deserve to be in this position that we're in, but we are faithful. And when you follow God's will for your life, no matter what, it is the safest thing for you. We've seen what happens when you are outside of God's will and how it not only affects you, but it affects those who are connected to you. And we also see God's sovereignty through it all, through our mistakes, through the enemy's attacks, God is still sovereign. God don't care. Okay, cool. I'm going to use that, you know, and I'm going to bless you in it, regardless of the things that you've done. God doesn't give to us according to what we deserve. He gives to us according to his will. And so those are just some of the key things to remember. And it is important to do God's will regardless. I had to choose God's will above my own. And it's worth it. It's worth it. It hurts, it sucks, but God gives grace. He will grace you to do the things that he has called you to do. And it doesn't mean that it's not gonna be hard. It doesn't mean that you're not gonna go through hardships or deal with things, but you're gonna get through. And literally, like, I always tell people, I'm like, yo, if Joel and I can do it, if Joel and I could get through all the stuff that we had to go, we just shared a little bit with y'all. It's way more, but we're not gonna share everything. But if we could get through the stuff or go through the stuff that we've been through and still be together, I'm like, anybody could do it. But it takes God. God is literally the rock and the center and the foundation of our relationship. He founded this relationship and he held it together, okay? Because every time I wanted to give up, every time Joe wanted to give up, we just came right back to each other. And it wasn't a soul tie because we was not doing that. It was like, it wasn't that. Like, it was literally God, like, hey, calling us back to each other. I have something for y'all. So I hope that this testimony blessed y'all. We hope you enjoyed this 3-part series. Don't be rude, comment something below. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok, Kiera Burke, Joe Burke. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Pray and slay.
Pray it.
Pray and slay.